Hi there, and welcome. Nha Trang keeps popping up on a lot of those best of lists, and I've been so excited to finally get here and see for myself what it's really all about. I want to figure out if this is a place where you'd want to start a new life, stay long-term, or even just spend a good chunk of the year for some slow travel. I'm going to take you around town, we're going to do some fun stuff, and I'm going to try to help you cut through all the hype. So let's go give Nha Trang a shakedown and get you the real rundown on whether this city should be on your list. Let's start by breaking down the city into some bite-sized pieces. It makes it a lot easier to understand the layout. Right now, I'm standing in the beachfront area, which runs for a long way, from north to south. It's bisected by a river, so you've got a northern portion and a southern portion. Just behind the beach, there's a major, and I mean very busy, highway. Behind that is what's known as Resort Row. The first 2 or 3 blocks, depending on where you are packed with hotels, spas, bars, restaurants, and coffee shops. There's a little bit of something for everyone here. Behind Resort Row, especially in the southern part, is the city center. If you're looking at a map, you can tell you're in a busy area, but really what you're looking for is where the street grid flips 45 degrees from the streets that run parallel to the beach. That's what they call the city center. This area is full of restaurants, coffee shops, and apartment buildings, usually 3 or 4 stories tall. It's a great place to explore and walk around. Even one of the more local markets is back here. Then, there's everything else. But is this where you would actually want to live? I can tell you right now that one of the most appealing things about this place is the beachfront. The pathways that run up and down the beach for about 6 kilometers are perfect for jogging or just strolling. There are tons of people out here in the evenings, all along the beach, and you can't really say one spot is better than another. The quality of the experience is pretty consistent everywhere. One of the downsides, though, is that on the southern stretch of Nha Trang, you really have to be brave to cross the wild traffic. Up in the northern part, there are actual crosswalks, and it just feels a little bit safer. It's hard to explain why, but when I'm walking around that northern area, it's still touristy and there are still giant resort hotels, but it feels a little more like a family area, a bit quieter, a little bit smaller. I mean, it's not really, but yet it is. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you'll disagree if you've been here. I do know that as soon as you get north of the river, there's a university district, and that's a whole different animal. We're in a great central location here, kind of halfway between the river and the marina down on the southern end of the beach. Across the street is the beachfront park, which stretches for the entire 6 kilometers from the marina up to the river. A major disadvantage for me is that there are no real controlled crosswalks to get from the city side to the beach side. You have to find these small gaps in the strip lines to cross, and the traffic is just non-stop. You're basically taking your safety into your own hands. The general rules of street crossing in Vietnam apply, but you have to be vigilant. So, that's not my favorite thing. I do love the entire beachfront area. I walked all 6 kilometers of it yesterday, from the river to the marina, and I counted 7 different areas with exercise equipment, like pull-up bars and stuff. There are all these little changing spaces. Some are park-like with tree shade and grassy, curvy pathways, and then there are more concrete spaces like this one across from me. They're great gathering spots. Tons of people are out here. It's a Wednesday night in late October, which is a pretty unremarkable time of year, but when the sun goes down, man, the people come out. This is just such a great place to hang out. That's the 3rd tour bus I've seen in the last 5 minutes, just dropping people off. And here comes another one to pick them up. We're at a street market that runs 1 block back from the main beachfront avenue. It's packed with tourists, and there's a lot of cool stuff here, but just understand that the pricing is modeled exactly for what you see. You'll hear prices like $250,000 or $10. We'll have to go to some other places for better deals. There are bags, lots of swimwear. It's fun, but I'm going to show you how to get some better prices if you have the time to go into the city center. Oh, here we go, the classic Vietnam hats, kind of like the jungle hats. How much are these? 100, 100. I'll come back. Not right now. 80,000. Well, 100 is better than I thought it would be. I've seen people on the street selling those for 150,000. And as I was walking away, she dropped it to 80. That right there is a valuable lesson in the bargaining process. You have to be prepared to walk away. Pretend you're not interested, and the price often drops quickly. Hopefully, you're starting to get the idea. There are tons of souvenir items, dry goods, and snacks. Check this out. Big bags of cashews, mangoes, and these baby macadamia nuts. You don't normally see them in the United States with the shells still on. Just so you know where we are, we're right next to that. We've got a good view here, right outside the market, and these guys are everywhere if you want to take a ride. How much for a ride? How many people? 1. 500,000. 500,000. How long? 30 minutes. Okay, alright. So there you have it. 500,000 for a half hour, which is about $20. But watch how they act. Let's see. Maybe one of these guys will talk to us. How much for a ride? 300,000. How long? 30 minutes. Just like that. Thank you. I can't even imagine how many people just throw out the first price they hear. Don't ever do that, unless you're in an actual retail store in a mall, then you pretty much have to pay the price they give you. Even though there's a great deal of uniformity up and down the beach strip, like, no matter where you are, all these little micro areas are pretty much exactly the same. It's not like you're going to miss out on everything if you stay in one place. I'm just here because it's such a central location and because that market tends to be a magnet for the buses. Interestingly enough, right across from it is this alleyway that gets a lot of foot traffic. Things are already starting to feel a little more local, and the prices are getting closer to where they should be. There are a couple of brew pubs. How much is a beer here? 230,000. That's already 20,000 less than when we were on the market street. So, we're just 2 or 3 blocks back from the beachfront road, and the prices are already starting to drop. The more you wander into this city center area, the more you start to find things like this. I'm really trying to stay off the map and just wander, and I've done this a few nights and I've been so happy with where it's taken me. If you can hear the horns in the background at all, understand that here, that's not a hostile act or a response to one. Everybody honks their horns as a heads-up message. They're just trying to let you know that they're there, they're coming up behind you, or they're about to do something. So just keep your wits about you. There are just so many street corners and streets back here, and they're just so normal. I don't know, man. Back in the States, we would dream that our neighborhoods look like this. It's this great area with all these cozy little coffee shops and noodle shops. Sure, there are motorbikes everywhere, but who cares? It just adds to the character of the place, you know? You have your beachfront, all 6 kilometers of it, and there's a huge client base that loves that everything they need, including luxury establishments in the malls and stores, is right there. But if you're willing to venture back, it really starts to get interesting. Probably about 4 blocks back from the beach, and by 5 blocks back, you're definitely here. I mean, it doesn't feel urban, it feels suburban. It's great back here, there are so many little things. As long as you don't come too late at night when everything's going to close, you'll see people just hanging around. They have all their doors and windows open, just sitting inside their houses, watching TV, playing video games, whatever. It's such a nice temperature outside right now. I'm looking at this trendy little restaurant with a second floor where you can sit and enjoy the evening, watching over the streets below. Another coffee shop, people just hanging out, enjoying the night. What's not to like about that? Then you can shop for shoes next door, and everywhere around you, you can hear the sounds of people just living their lives. So, this isn't a place that's staged for tourists, and yet, there's something about the authenticity of this area that's clearly drawing people in to visit and experience. And it's very affordable. Vietnam is a first for this for me. I'm sitting on the second story of a food and beer establishment, and right across the way is another 2-story coffee place. I'm the only person up here, and I don't care. I'm a solo traveler. But they just gave me a beer with ice cubes. Now, this took me a minute to get used to. It's a Vietnam thing. They pour their beer over ice. This is still refrigerated and cold, but they put it on ice. You would never do that in the United States. But actually, how is that any different than putting ice in a soda or an iced tea or anything else you drink that way? Once I tried it, I realized it's actually kind of nice. Here's the problem. The way we serve beer in the States, it gets warm so fast just sitting there in the glass. This keeps it nice and cold. So I just tip my hat to a cultural Vietnamism that is just no nonsense. This beer is 14,000 Vietnamese dong. $1 is about 25,000 dong, so be careful. This is just so nice and refreshing. I mean, think about that for a second. Okay, it gets watered down a little bit as we go, but it's going to keep it nice and cold. We've got the fin drip going. The other thing I'd like to point out is that normally, they will serve you a tea beside your coffee, one that's made with dehydrated hibiscus and sometimes pineapple. This one is like a hibiscus with ginger in it, and it is delightful. The great thing about that is if your coffee is just too bitter and earthy, going back and forth between the two is a very nice experience. I'm really excited to try this coffee. What's a hack for the rainy season? I've got this bag I carry around, and that little kangaroo pouch on the back is for water bottles, but what do I keep in it? An umbrella, never fear. So nice, hot, fresh Vietnamese coffee. Got some Fin coffee going. This cap kind of magnetically sits on top, and once it's done dripping, you run into the problem of where you're going to set it down. Here's the beautiful thing. You can take the cap off, put it underneath, and then set it down on your table. Take some ice, cool it down a little bit. This coffee is strong, like Vietnam. I use the 2-night rule on hotel reservations. It's just kind of evolved that way. I used to reserve ahead of time for several nights for a sense of security. But what happens so much of the time is you get to a place and it doesn't look quite like the pictures, or there's so much noise in the background that you just couldn't have been prepared for, or the bed is super uncomfortable. So, what I'll do is book a 2-night reservation before I get to a place after doing all my scouring online. And that's really good because for 2 nights, I could stand on my head if I absolutely have to, and that has been the case occasionally. You get to a place and it's so terribly uncomfortable or so noisy that you just can't wait to move on. If you only book a 1-night reservation and you get there late, you're already having to pack back up and get ready to move on the next day. This way, you don't have too long of a commitment if it's not what you wanted. For 285,000 Vietnamese dong per night, I'm on the 12th floor. I have an ocean view and a city view, a king bed, and a private bathroom. That translates to somewhere in the neighborhood of about $11 US per night. I have to walk a couple of blocks to the beach. I have to walk a couple of blocks to the city center area. The walkability back there is excellent. Here's a perfect example. By the first night's sleep, I knew I wanted to extend. So I went downstairs and said, "What's the cash rate to extend?" And of course, part of that conversation is, do I get a discount for staying a week or longer? And the answer was yes, so that brings the price down even more. I knew I was going to stay here in Nha Trang for a while, but it can get really exhausting when you're bouncing around from hotel to hotel. But that's just a reality sometimes. You just can't find a very comfortable place, so you do end up bouncing around. And when that happens, you get all this time to get comfortable with the lay of the land of the town or the city you're in, but you never really get to unpack, relax a little bit, and feel like you're at home. So I got here and decided it was time to get some better camera and audio equipment, and at the same time, what a great place to just hang out for a little bit because it's so affordable to be here. The affordability of being here makes up for the money I spent on some new technology, but hopefully, that's reflected in the quality of what I'm presenting for you. So, let's go take a look inside this sprawling market complex full of vendors and hawkers and see if there's anything we can't live without. At first glance from the outside, nothing about the building says touristy. But there are a ton of buses right out front, and that's a little bit ominous, a little bit foreboding as a sign. Why? Well, the issue is that if it's discovered by tourists, with the cruise ships coming in and people from Resort Row getting in these big buses and just getting dropped off at some of the attraction points, that means the pricing is going to be, well, let's go take a look inside anyway. Let's get an idea of what's being sold. Guys, I've got some bad news for you. We are definitely not the first. Oh my goodness, look at all these buses. I've only been in here for like 10 or 15 minutes. The first thing that had to happen was I had to find a bathroom because I stopped at like 3 coffee shops on the way here. I spent an hour and a half just stopping in coffee shops along the way, and you get to a point where you're just maxed out. The bathroom in here is not easy to find. It cost 5,000 dong to use it. What is that? Less than 25 cents. So, I'm in this spot and I just kind of got roped in. They do speak some English. It's a global marketplace here. We've got this stand that's selling Crocs and some Nike shoes. Now, are these originals? Are they true? Like what comes out of the factory and gets sent to the United States? I don't know, you can't really tell the difference. So we were talking about some Crocs, and Crocs are for sale everywhere here too. Too small for me. The first number they threw out was, I think, 190. Then it was 170, and then 50,000 for a pair of these bad boys. What is that? That's about $2 US. I haven't worn Crocs since 2007, before it was cool, but I might just take the leap. We'll see. The Air Max shoes. These are going for 550,000 dong. That's at least the first price that came out of her mouth. The foam bottoms are 350,000 dong. Let me take a step back. 550. If 250,000 dong is $10, that pair of Air Max is $22, and that's the first offer. Bargain your way down, bargain your way down. Then when you get into the more standard, comfy shoes, she's saying 250,000. Now, a lot of times with these places, the highest size they'll have in most of their shoes is A45, which is the European size. I'm A46, so a lot of times when I'm shopping these shoe places, they only have a couple of pairs of shoes in my size. That has its ups and downs. It's hard to find. I'm wearing a pair of shoes right now that I bought almost 6 months ago back in Bangkok, probably the equivalent of about $40. I can tell by feel that they are not the same quality level. Then I went and bought insoles to replace, and I mean, I have put many miles on these shoes. The price was worth it, but does it make my back hurt because they're not constructed as well? I think so. What else do we have? Bags. I mean, they feel like what you get out of a normal store at crazy prices back in the United States. Some of these pants are as low as 170,000 dongs. Some of them are as high as 220,000 dong, just to give you an idea. Thank you so much. Come on, hang on. You gotta learn how to communicate, but be careful with your enunciation, your emphasis, and your accent. One thing to understand, at least here in Vietnam, in English, your different pronunciation is a display of different emotion, right? But it's different here. If you apply different emphasis in different parts of the word, you're saying something completely different. So you gotta practice a little bit, but it's good to know some basics, good diplomacy. I might come back and get some shoes. She says she has some of these Nike Air Maxes for as big as a 47. Oh, I might be the new owner of some great running shoes today. We'll see, but just to give you an idea of the size and scope of this place, it is huge. All kinds of t-shirts. I see sundresses and dresses for the ladies. I'm going to try to slowly turn here so you can see just how much stuff there is. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera around. We're on the second floor. There are 3 floors of this place. You can see there are bags for sale if you need a new backpack, more straw purses and handbags. There's jewelry downstairs, flowers, a lot of like dehydrated seafood kinds of things down there, nuts, non-perishable goods. Got swimsuits. Oh, if you want some swimsuits, yeah. I don't know, beachwear, sunwear, more Crocs. There are just Crocs everywhere. I'm trying to understand why there are so many shops selling Crocs, and maybe it's just because they're so popular right now. I mean, I started the fad back in 2007, but I didn't think it was going to take off quite this much. So stay tuned for more. You're going to see me do things, then the rest of the world does it, whatever. Okay, so we've got Gucci, Louis Vuitton handbags, Dior, Guess, Prada. It's all here. Hi, how are you? Hello, what do we have? We got like handbags. Can we take a look? Leather belts. I know I've made it sound like I don't, but I really do. I really appreciate the finer things in life, but I don't have room in my bags for any of this stuff. I'm in a new chapter of my life. I mean, look at this. You've got the North Face bags coming into view right behind me. We've got shirts. How much are the shirts? How much is this shirt? 180. Okay, 150 discount. What's the discount? Go 15. She'll go 150. What do you think? Should we get a new t-shirt? We'll think about it and come back because I've got to do some filming. I've got to tell everybody at home. But now they know what you look like and they will come here. So she just dropped it to 110,000. That's $4 and change for a t-shirt. You're making it hard for me to resist and walk away. We've got suitcases here, rolling suitcases. They all seem like really good construction, but my biggest concern with those is that the wheels are the first thing to break. When you're rolling around on the streets, they're pretty rough, so if you have this heavy suitcase that you're bouncing around,